Hi everyone, welcome to my daily Facebook Live and Instagram Live. Hope you're all having a good day today and it's productive, getting things done, spending time with the family and enjoying the time off really. Hi Sarah. So we're going to start in a few minutes. We're going to talk about, just give a quick recap on what we did yesterday. We talked about procrastination. And I'm going to go over that again very briefly. And then I want to get into the 4 hacks, the 4 ways of really just killing procrastination right now, just sorting it out. And then my one single most effective way of just getting lots done, peak productivity, just moving yourself into that state where you can just get a lot of stuff done. And it's so simple. You're going to say, is that it? But it really is like that. So without too much to do, so I'm going to do a quick recap. Yesterday we talked about procrastination and we talked about the 2 selves. So the present self and the future self. And that's a really good way of trying to understand how we work when it comes to delaying or putting off things that we know we should be doing and we know that it's in our best interest to do. So the present self wants immediate rewards, and the future and can't deal with delayed gratification. It wants it now. The future self is that part of us where we envision ourselves, when we're planning our goals and we're deciding what we're going to be and do, and we're planning our holiday home and holidays in the sun and things like that. That future self, that future envisioning is very difficult for present self to deal with. Present self wants immediate gratification. It can't deal with things that are far off. If I don't exercise, it's today and tomorrow. It doesn't matter. It takes years for that to manifest in a negativity, doesn't it? Of overweight and diabetes and all the rest of it. But you've got to bring things back to the present. So the problem and the pain and anxiety of procrastinating is compounded until one is compelled to take action. So we've all been there where we know we've got to do that task. We know we've got to do that task, and we delay and we delay and we delay. And the problem is not doing the work, it's starting the work. And that's the killer, isn't it? It's starting the work. Because once we start, it gets a bit easier. So the day before the deadline, the future consequences become present consequences because we're so stressed. And you write that report or you do that task literally hours before it's due. And, I hold up my hand. I've done it, especially these days when you're submitting assignments and, dissertations and things that are submitted online through Turnitin software where you have to be on the dot time. And if you're not, you get marked down immediately. So, you get that report in like literally minutes before it's due. And so we need to make it easier for present self to get started. Because once we begin the work, it really does make it easier. We talked yesterday about as you get that pain, it rises, and then you get to the action line where you take action and then the pain subsides. But then what's interesting is the pain level is much less. It's much less of a level than when you were procrastinating and delaying and making excuses for starting. So the concept of getting past that action line as quickly as possible then reduces your pain and anxiety and the guilt and shame or whatever else is going on in your head. And you have to put in less energy and effort to do the work than you were in delaying the work. And that's a killer, isn't it? That concept that you're spending more energy and effort in stopping yourself and delaying the work than you would just doing the work and getting it over and done with. So how do we stop procrastinating right now? What are we going to do right now to stop procrastinating? And it's fairly straightforward. You want to be taking action that makes the rewards more immediate. Make the reward of taking action more immediate. Bring it closer to you. And so there's a way of bringing those long-term choices to bring it to today, bring it more immediate. And it becomes easier, therefore, to avoid procrastination. And one of the best ways to do this is to use a strategy called temptation bundling. And this is where you only do something that you love alongside something that you hate doing. So for example, it might be, I'm gonna do that assignment, that report, that bit of tidy up or organization of my notes while I'm exercising. So you might be on a stationary bike, you might be on a treadmill, and you can still do some work. So you can do something good along with something bad or not so nice. So only do something you love while doing something you procrastinate on. So I find it might be something like only listen to audiobooks or fiction audiobooks while you're exercising, or only watch your favorite TV show while clearing out your inbox, or favorite TV show while doing the ironing. Simple things, just bundle them together and you'll get stuff done a lot quicker, and you'll cut through tasks. So, and then the second thing is to make consequences of procrastination more immediate. And by this I mean things like, so if you wanted to exercise, but each day you say, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow, it's very easy to put it off because the negatives are so far in the future. You're not going to know, you're not going to care really that at that present self is not going to care that not by not exercising today, you're going to get more ill and less able to live a good life later on, because they're only interested in the here and now. But if you linked that with, say, for example, not looking bad amongst your peers, you might say, to bring that the consequences more closer, you might tell everyone that you're aiming to lose weight or get fitter, and so there's other people that make you accountable. Or even better still, take on a gym buddy, a gym partner that you exercise with regularly. And this is brilliant because you might not want to go and exercise, but if you have to tell somebody you're not going to go, that makes it much more difficult to cancel. So you end up going, so it becomes better for you. So having that partner, that accountability partner, for want of a better phrase, is amazing, because it makes you go even when you don't want to. And it works the same for them as well, so you both do well together. So the third thing is design future actions in advance. So if I'm saying I'm going to go and do, I'm going to run 3 times a week, if I plan to do that beforehand and I have structures in place that enable me to do that. At the moment, because of fasting, I'm tending to run the small amount that I do run at night time at about 2 o'clock. So between 2 and 2:30, I know I have to leave the house on a Monday, Wednesday and Friday night because I have to be running. And it's in my diary now so that I can't get out of it. And I get a reminder. And so even if I'm in the thick of work or whatever I'm doing, I know that at that point I've got to be out running. And it's not just about exercise, but they are good examples on how to those things that we procrastinate on. But you can also create these little devices, these little hacks, so that when you're shopping, for example, it's better to buy the small size of something rather than the large size, because it inevitably makes you have less when you sit down to eat. Using a smaller plate makes you eat less, for example, and also having a darker coloured plate apparently makes you eat less. So these are all things that you can build into your life. You can build into your routines that help you to make those right choices when the time comes. So you're planning and designing those future actions in advance to make it more likely that you're not going to procrastinate. You're going to do what you need to do at the right time. And then the final thing is to make the task more achievable. So instead of, for example, saying, I'm going to write 2 chapters for my book or 1 chapter, there's a really famous author whose name has completely escaped me, who instead of choosing bigger tasks, just reduce those tasks into bite-sized chunks. And in his case, he said, I'm just going to work on a 15-minute increment, a 15-minute time block, and I'm going to write 250 words in 15 minutes, and that's all. So by doing that, and by reducing the tasks to achievable chunks, what you're doing and what you're saying to yourself is, I feel energized, I feel happy that I've achieved my 15-minute task and I've got my 250 words done. or I've done something in the house, or I've done those DIY tasks that are I'm always pushing to the back of my mind. So by reducing those task chunks, you're rewarding yourself mentally, you're moving, and that builds momentum and pushes you forward. But it also means that you can actually attack really, really large, big jobs, big tasks, by just breaking them down into those smaller and smaller things. And it's amazing how much you can achieve by doing that. So as I tell my clients, that when they feel overwhelmed by the big task that's out there that they have to get done by a certain date, it's better to chunk it down into those smaller, literally bite-sized chunks that they can gobble up quite quickly. Okay, so that brings me on. So those are the four ways we can reduce and get rid of procrastination. So that's taking action more and immediately, and temptation bundling, making the consequences of that procrastination more immediate, designing future actions with those commitment devices, and make the task more achievable by chunking them down to very, very, very smaller tasks. And that brings me on to the single most effective solution for peak productivity I have found in my reading, and it is what I do. So the night before, I write a system. So I go through a system, and the first thing is the night before I write down the 6 tasks that I'm going to do the next day. So it's ready. But not only do I write down those 6 tasks, they must be aligned to my vision, they must be aligned to my goals, and they must be where I want to be and where I'm going. Otherwise, there's no point. So I write down my 6 goals. I make sure they do move me forward in my weekly and daily and monthly goals, and certainly they're aligned to my vision. So I've got my 6 tasks. I then prioritize them. So I look at them and I see which ones give me the most bang for my buck, which ones give me the most reward for the time I'm going to spend in doing them. So they're all prioritized. Then I rewrite them so that they're in order, because then that's less to think about. And then I concentrate. So the next day, when I get down to work, I've got a prioritized order list of what I need to do, and I'm going to do the one that's the most effective and most rewarding for my goals. And that's going to be the Brian Tracy, eat that frog kind of mentality. Do the thing that you hate the most that gives you the best reward, and get it done. And I'm going to concentrate on that first task, that priority 1 task, until it is completed. A so-called single tasking as opposed to multitasking. Single tasking is much more efficient, it's much more effective in getting stuff done. Forget multitasking, it does not work, and it leaves you with half completed tasks here and there that then get pushed to the back and never really get completed. Because you don't want to have to go back into thinking about that task from the start. If you've only done half of it, it takes a lot more to get into the flow and really get that done, rather than hitting a task head on and dealing with it straight away. So I'm going to concentrate on that 1 task and get it done to completion. I'm then going to continue to the end of the day, to the end of my working day, working through my tasks in the order I prioritized and not deviating, and getting them done to completion, and feeling good as I complete tasks, knowing that they're finished and I'm moving forward. And this is not rocket science, is it? But we do need that focus, right? So I would say before you start at the beginning of the day, your notification should be off. You should not be looking at your email. And I've suggested before that you pick 2 or 3 times in the day when you check your emails, and they're not pinging away at you all the time. So things can wait a couple of hours. And if you've got an autoresponder on, you can even say, if you're emailing me after 10 o'clock, then I'm not going to be looking at this until 2 o'clock at the earliest. So at least people know if you're worried about that. So we're going to write down our 6 tasks the night before. We're going to prioritize them in order and rewrite them. The next day, we're going to concentrate on our P1, priority 1 task, and get that done. We're going to eat that frog, and we're going to make sure our notifications are all off and our devices are not bothering us. And then finish that task and continue to the end of the day working through the task in priority order. And then I'm going to review everything at the end of the day and see what I completed and see what I didn't complete. Move the item that I didn't complete to the next list of 6 tasks for the next day. And I'm just going to continue like that each day, each working day, and looking at 6 tasks. And the reason they say 6 tasks, and it does actually work, any more than 6 tends to be overload and overwhelm because you look at your list. But that's for me. I find 6 works for me. On days when I don't want to do as much work, or I want a bit of a rest day, I make it 3 tasks. But I make sure those tasks are big tasks. So creating some content, writing an article, reviewing an article, something that's going to push me forward, learning a new skill, watching a webinar. These are all tasks that need to be completed, and they don't tend to get completed because, especially the learning and developing, because you push it to the back because other things come to the front. So it's better to list out what you're going to do and do it in this order. But I think 6 tasks is a nice medium for a 9-to-5 day. Obviously, I never work a 9-to-5 day. I usually work a 9 till 3 in the morning day. And I'm working on having a better home-life balance and work-life balance. But I find that once I'm in the flow of stuff, I just want to get stuff done. Anyway, I hope that's been useful to you guys. Any questions, any comments, any criticisms, please come back to me. I'm open to learning, and I'm happy to take criticism as well as I'm happy to take praise. It's all about having a growth mindset. It's all about moving ourselves forward and learning and growing, and hopefully taking people along with us. And so this is some of my taking people along with us. Before I go, we've had an incredible response to the free coaching that I'm offering for the next couple of months. The draw takes place on Friday. So even if you're watching this now or on the replay, the draw will take place just before 12 o'clock before my 12 o'clock live. So if you haven't thought about it, or you haven't messaged me to ask more questions, please do that. I'm really keen to help dentists, dental business owners, associates, and to move them forward. So I'm looking forward to get cracking with the group that I've got, and I've got one more spot. Please message me, and let's see where you want to go, and I'm very certain that I can take you there. Good to speak to you guys again, and I'll see you tomorrow at 12 o'clock. All the best.